So lads, we just knew it was going to happen, didn't we? We just knew it was going to happen because it is dumb. Like, there are dumb people all around.
Well, did someone at ESPN actually think they were dropping truth bombs when they said the Indiana Fever are better without Caitlin Clark? No, seriously, they said that out loud, on national television, like it was some groundbreaking analysis. And spoiler alert, that take aged like milk left out in July. Let's be honest, Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's the entire engine powering this franchise's relevance. Without her, the Fever weren't even in the national conversation. But now, suddenly, 2 random wins without her on the court and people are ready to rewrite the narrative? Come on. When Carolyn Peck said, "I think the Indiana Fever are even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play," my brain hit pause. Like, are we even watching the same sport? Let's talk about those wins. They weren't against top-tier teams, and they weren't exactly dominant performances. But hey, ESPN needed a hot take, and this was their shot. The truth? Clark brings gravity, attention, and pressure. Without her, the Fever go back to being forgettable. So the real question isn't whether Caitlin is the problem. It's this: where would Indiana be without her spotlight?
Man, let's stop playing games, Pete. Number one, the Indiana Fever are playing good. They're on a winning streak. They beat the number 1 team for the Commissioner Cup, the Minnesota Lynx. They just blew out the Las Vegas Aces by 27 points last night. They are playing good, not taking nothing away from them, you know what I'm saying? Stephanie White's motion offense is not looking that bad because everyone is scoring. If you notice now, there'll be 4 or 5 people being double figures.
Look, Indiana beating the Aces without Caitlin Clark was a big win, no one's denying that. Credit where it's due. But let's not sit here and act like the Aces didn't look like a team that just got a text saying, "You've been eliminated, go have fun." Becky Hammon looked absolutely lost on the sidelines, like someone trying to decode their 2025 AI-generated phone bill. The Aces came out flat, no urgency, no rhythm, and their defense might as well have stayed on the bus. So yes, the Fever did their thing, but trying to credit that win to Clark's absence? That's a narrative reach even ESPN should be ashamed of. And since Carolyn Peck wants to throw around phrases like ball-dominant guards and suggest Indiana's offense flows better without Caitlin, cool, let's pull up the numbers. With Clark on the floor, the Fever averaged 10 more points per game. Not 2. Not 5. 10. That's double digits. That's a statistical slap in the face to the argument. And you know what doesn't lie? Math. But hey, let's keep pretending. Sure, they beat the Aces without Clark. Let's throw a parade. But they also got blown off the court by the Sun, also without Clark. What's the excuse there? Before Caitlin arrived, this team was a league afterthought. No energy, no spark, no spotlight. Now suddenly they're on ESPN every other night, fans are showing up in record numbers, and defenders are collapsing on her like she's Steph Curry in disguise. She creates space, pressure, and visibility. But let's ignore all of that, right? Let's pretend her gravity on the court and cultural impact off of it mean nothing, just so we can chase a headline.
Here's Kelsey Mitchell, flips it to Howard, who lays it in.
Now let's talk about all that sudden Kelsey Mitchell praise. Look, no doubt, Mitchell's been balling. She's a bucket, and no one's denying that. But you know what she didn't do last season? Win games. And the season before that? Still didn't win games. So let's not act like this roster was some hidden juggernaut just waiting to explode, being held back only because Caitlin Clark showed up. That's revisionist history. Mitchell's been here. The whole squad's been here. And the Fever still lived at the bottom of the standings year after year. But now, with the national spotlight on them, suddenly everyone wants to act like this was always a playoff caliber team, if only Clark would just sit down and watch. That's not just unfair, it's completely disconnected from reality.
I believe that there are people going on national television, drawing paychecks, and putting poison on the airwaves that is literally coming, from places like Twitter. Folks that are called Hall of Famers, legends of the game of women's basketball and coaching and playing. By now, I'm sure you've seen the sentiment going around that the Indiana Fever perhaps are more dangerous without Caitlin.
Let's just cut through the noise. Caitlin Clark has become the lightning rod for every misstep, every missed shot, every off-court controversy, and every twisted media narrative the Wnba can muster. If a teammate bricks a layup, blame Clark. If the stadium lights flicker, must be her energy. If the popcorn machine explodes during halftime, somehow, Caitlin's fault. She could be sitting on the bench, not even in uniform, and yet the media will still find a way to twist the storyline and pin it on her. It's become absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, players who've been coasting in the league for years, putting up lukewarm stats and disappearing in key moments, are suddenly being paraded as MVP candidates after back-to-back decent performances, as if consistency and star power don't matter anymore. And let's not pretend we don't know where this nonsense is coming from. Carolyn Peck has practically made it her personal mission to throw Clark under the bus every chance she gets. It's like she's allergic to giving Caitlin her due credit. Remember last season? When Clark was breaking records, leading the rookie charts, dominating headlines, and electrifying arenas. Everyone and their grandmother knew she deserved Rookie of the Year. But not Carolyn, no, she just had to be different. She pushed Angel Reese, waving the blue-collar rebounding flag like it was gospel. And look, there's no issue with hyping up Reese, she's a beast on the boards, but you don't have to tear down one rising star to prop up another. That kind of comparison isn't just lazy, it's toxic. And now, here we are again, repeating the same cycle. Instead of giving the Fever credit for stepping up defensively or evolving as a young team, the narrative suddenly flips into Clark is the issue. As if she's single-handedly responsible for defensive breakdowns or missed open shots. Come on. Caitlin averages more than 8 assists a game, 8. That's elite. And she's constantly double-teamed, which opens up the floor for everyone else. Yet when she's off the floor for a couple of games and the Fever win, the media acts like they've uncovered some groundbreaking truth. They didn't. They just cherry-picked a small sample size and ran wild with it. Let's talk cold, hard numbers. With CAITLINCLARK on the floor, the Fever average nearly 10 more points per game. That's not a guess. That's not spin. That's math, undeniable, objective math. And math doesn't have an agenda. People love to throw around the word turnovers like it's some magic metric to discredit her. But every high-usage guard turns it over, Trae Young, Luka Doncic, you name it. And no one in their right mind is suggesting that the Hawks or Mavs are better off without them. Why? Because mature basketball minds understand that you take the turnovers because of the upside, because of the creation, the leadership, the gravitational pull. Clark brings all of that and more. She's not just a passer or a shooter, she's a game changer, a culture setter, a spotlight magnet. Her very presence boosts ratings, fills seats, drives merchandise sales, and elevates the sport on a national level. When she plays, arenas sell out. When she's on the court, more eyes tune in than for last season's playoff games. That's the kind of impact that can't be measured on a box score alone. And yet, here comes ESPN with another tired, shallow take that conveniently forgets the Fever's abysmal standing before Clark arrived. This team wasn't just losing, they were invisible. And now, after 2 wins without her, one of which came against a severely underperforming opponent, the media is ready to crown a new identity? They also got destroyed by the Sun without her, but let's just sweep that under the rug, right? This whole better without Clark narrative is nothing but clickbait masquerading as analysis. And let's talk about that ridiculous claim that the team plays faster without her, as if faster automatically means better. Speed without purpose is chaos. Ask any coach in the league, they'd rather have structured offense led by a high IQ floor general than a reckless race to nowhere. Clark isn't ball dominant in a selfish way, she's the point guard. It's literally her job to direct the offense. Would you tell Patrick Mahomes to stop throwing because the Chiefs are too focused on him? No. That would be absurd. But that's exactly the logic people are applying to CAITLINCLARK. She reads defenses like a seasoned vet, she knows when to slow it down, when to push the pace, when to find the open shooter, and when to take it herself. And yet, every single misstep, every turnover, every missed shot, every slight mistake, is amplified and turned into a controversy. Other stars can have off nights and it's chalked up to fatigue or strategy. Clark has an off night and suddenly she's a liability? Give me a break. This isn't about her game anymore, it's about the disruption she's caused. The Wnba was a tight-knit community, flying under the radar. Then Clark showed up, and everything changed. She brought mainstream attention, massive coverage, and a wave of new fans. And not everyone is comfortable with that. The old guard doesn't want to share the spotlight. So now, the narrative machine is running overtime trying to discredit her, to control the conversation, to put her in her place. But fans aren't stupid. They see through it. They know who's moving the needle. They see who's making the plays, hitting the logo threes, sparking the comeback runs. They remember the moments, not the talking points. And when the same analysts who doubted her suddenly reverse course and pretend they've been on the Clark bandwagon all along, don't be surprised. This team is still developing. They're not a championship contender yet, and that's okay. But if you can't admit that Clark is the central reason they're even relevant, then you're either lying or blind. Go look at the schedule. The teams they beat without her? Mediocre at best. And that cup game? It doesn't even affect the standings. So no, this isn't a revelation. This is a mirage. Caitlin Clark is not the problem, she's the solution. She's the spark, the spotlight, the superstar the WNBA has been waiting for. Without her, the Fever go back to being irrelevant. Without her, the league loses its hottest storyline. So yeah, maybe she makes mistakes. Maybe she's still growing. But without Caitlin Clark, none of this buzz exists. No packed arenas. No surging merch sales. No national conversations. Just silence. And if that upsets a few egos? Too bad. Because reality doesn't bend to comfort. Facts don't flinch. Clark is here, and she's not going anywhere. So the only real question is, are you watching to hate, or watching to witness greatness? Either way, the answer is the same: Caitlin Clark is the reason the Fever matter.